Hello and welcome to Tender Loving Care with your host, myself, Pauline, and my darling Kate. Every week, Kate and I break down a show from the TLC network, the name of the network that I believe for the longest time was an acronym for Tender Loving Care. And then I found out what it actually stood for was the Learning Channel, and I saw the types of shows that are on that channel, and my deep confusion bred this podcast. Each week, Kate and I will randomly select a show to cover for the next episode by spinning a glorious Wheel of Shame, which has only the trashiest of trash TLC and Discovery Plus shows that we will be studying. Hi, Kate.
Hi. I love I love our new setup. We look so fabulous.
We just a little, we like to give like a little bit of background and behind the scenes. Kate and I had a very serious potty meeting on Sunday, and it was great. We got so much done. We decided a lot about the future of the pod, which, by the way, don't worry, is completely thriving. And we also decided to kind of switch over a couple of things. You guys won't notice much of it, but it's just going to help with how everything looks and performs and stuff like that. So I'm excited about it, Kate.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. And I'm being boring and I have a cup of tea, but it's not on theme. It's my Christmas cup. So I'm a little bit early.
Okay. Looking ahead. Yep. I like that.
Always.
I just have flavored water. So even more boring.
We're so good tonight. It's because we had our meeting and we discovered like what professionals we are. So we're like, if we're going to do this professional, and we should just have like a cut to 1 month later. I was telling you, she's a fucking bitch, and I don't know why I'm watching any of this.
Exactly.
Facts.
Facts. These are facts.
So Kate, I realized I don't think I sent you the breakdown of this Hillsong docu, did I?
No, I was just looking for it. I don't think I have it.
Okay. Well, while you look for that, guys, obviously last week, or the week before, well, I guess last week, the show that we released was on Finding Bigfoot. Now, there's not a lot that can beat it. We did rate that like one of the best shows we've ever seen in this entire like year and a half we've been doing this podcast. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to Finding Bigfoot because it was so amazing. But this week we got something very different. Kate, it was Hillsong, a mega church exposed.
Yes, this was very different, very interesting. Had you heard about all of this drama with this church and everything about it?
It's interesting. I went into this documentary thinking all I knew was the celebrity kind of hangers-on that got really excited about it for like 6 months in a certain year. I remembered there was a guy, we'll get into him, a guy that was leading it, that was like, I'm real cool, my leather jackets, but let's talk about Jesus, like that kind of vibe. And I knew that, and then I knew that it came out that he'd had an affair and stuff like that. That was it. I didn't know the extent of everything else that was in this docu. What about yourself?
I was at about the same place with it as you were. I knew the Justin Bieber of it all. I knew that it was like, we're cool Christians and the emphasis on the music. But yeah, this went a lot deeper than I had heard about. So this was interesting. I did find the description.
Okay. I'm ready to dive into this whenever you are.
Okay. So this is how Discovery Plus describes this docu-series. Hillsong, a mega church exposed. Dive into the alleged exploitation, abuse, and cover-ups at the star-studded Hillsong megachurch founded by Brian Houston. Hear from insiders, megachurch experts, and a woman whose affair with senior pastor Carl Lentz led to his downfall.
I have a lot to say about her, as you can imagine. But so this was 4 parts. It was a 4-part series. Honestly, Kate, it could have been 1 part. Right? There was so much repetition.
Yeah, they would have 4 or 5 people say the exact same thing right in a row.
I know. It really
So
was. And it was the constant cut. They loved doing the dramatic cuts of and then a bombshell. And then it would be like the next episode would be like, and what we never saw coming was a bombshell. It's the same thing in every single episode. It was so annoying. And the bombshells were kind of what we already knew from the previous episode, that they're just all dirty, horrible bastards that run this church, allegedly.
right. It didn't quite have the cliffhanger. I want to see the next episode. You kind of knew everything going into each episode. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it was long.
So we'll go into it. My main question, that is probably the most important question, and we're not even going to start on him because we're going to start on like the first episode and how it kind of evolved. But my first question is, during the Justin, now you have to be honest. All right, you have to be honest with this question. During the Justin Bieber time, okay, that they talk about in this, would you have had sex with Carl Lentz?
Not knowing anything about him, or he is a celebrity in this scenario?
You meet him in the park. Probably. Yeah, okay, thank you. Because I was going back and forth of like, no, I think, he's so cheesy and so everything, but you find how charismatic it is, plus that the photos of him when he was like topless and his pants were nearly down by his knees. I was like, all right, I get it.
He looked good, yeah.
He looked good. So we had our first episode. So I thought, there's this church, if you guys live in LA, there's this church that I thought was Hillsong. So I've been talking shit about this place for a long time because I thought it was Hillsong. It's right on Hollywood and La Brea. It's on the corner. And it's this exactly the same thing. It's called Mosaic. Now, I don't know anything about Mosaic, so I'm not going to comment on it, obviously, because I would never give a judgment on anything, Kate, not my style. But I always thought that was the celebrity one for some reason. I thought it was this Hillsong, and it's the same type of vibe that I know there are celebrities go there. They have their own merch.
Right.
And yeah, it's right there. And it's this, I guess what they call them is, is it evangelical? Is it mega churches, free churches? I don't know how they describe them. I would describe it as like a mega evangelical church, I think.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. And the pastors are what was this phrase? They're basically prosperity preachers. Like they are running a business rather than a church. That's
Yeah. Oh God, there's so much to get into. But I will say the one here is in Mount Washington. That's an area in Los Angeles near Glassell Park, that kind of area. That's where this one is. So we'll get Lanny to go over next time she's got a free Sunday.
What? I used to live there.
I know.
I did not know that. That is so wild. Okay.
Well, it's very innocuous. It's like this big, because of course I went on Google Maps. It's like this big black kind of factory looking place. And it's not like right in anywhere in Mount Washington where something's going on. It's like just nothing. It's the middle of it. It's very odd. But first episode, Kate, they kind of took us to the origins of this. And we had a lot of like experts coming on. We had a lot of guests throughout these 4 parts.
So many guests. It was like Taylor Swift bringing people to the stage.
I was taking notes of names and occupations. I just gave up. I was like, I can't keep up. But the talking heads were coming in and they were saying, first of all, we get people interviewed in New York, where it's originally from Australia. And it was founded, Kate, by the Houston. Which Houston is it?
Frank Houston. So he was originally the superintendent of the Assemblies of God in New Zealand. And then he moved to Australia in the late 70s, and his son, Brian, and Brian's wife, Bobby, followed shortly after. And then it was the Sydney Life Center after that. That's like what the church he started in Australia.
Got it. Sydney Life Center. Okay, got it. So then they end up, Brian Houston, the son, he made friends with this person called Casey Treat, who was a preacher in America. And he kind of came back to Australia with this like flood of ideas because he saw how these preachers were and the money they were making with these mega churches. I think this was like in the 70s, maybe 70s, 80s. Sorry, once again, zero facts. I wrote down some dates I have, but yeah, he kind of saw what he was doing and thinking, I've got this, I've got to make it accessible. I want church to be fun. I want music. I want dancing. That's how we get people in and get rid of the stereotypes of what church is supposed to be. It's not stuffy anymore. We're cool guys. So he goes back, kind of changes it all. And then it's the 90s, I believe. Or what? Sorry. It comes to America.
Yeah. So it's the late 80s when he goes to America and finds out about basically how to have this global reach, church turned corporate, essentially. And he comes back, and they started out, this church had a regular amount of people. It was like 300 in the congregation. And then it just grew and grew. They opened one in the Hills area. So it's called Hills Christian Life Center. And then they had this band. Like you said, they added music in. The band became the most popular thing about it, and the band was called Hillsong. So then they just renamed the church Hillsong.
And this was all still in Australia.
Right.
I love how I'm asking you. I watched this documentary, but in and out.
It was a lot of info.
It was a lot. So, Kate, then they came, their first church in America was New York, right?
I believe so. I also want to mention in the 90s, we say they leaned into music. They leaned into music. They were licensing all of their songs and bringing in a ton of revenue already. So that's kind of how they started to fund all of this expansion, was via all their religious songs that they're coming out with that were like mirroring the popular styles at the time. So yeah, then they went to New York, Hillsong, New York. And this is kind of when they introduced Carl, right?
Got it. So this one expert, once again, name unclear. But he mentioned the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5, the 6 C's, how they were making money. Church by tithing, donations, concerts. So these concerts were like huge. CDs, selling the music, college, because they opened up a college, cinema. They had their own recording studios. They had their own studios to film content in, and conferences. The conferences were huge as well. One guy was like, and I think this was in the 80s, and he was like, the ticket was like $500 by itself. Then you go there, then you buy merch. It's just a beast of a machine. Then it comes to New York, and they do some interviews, Kate, of people like on the street in a Central Park and stuff. Like, have you ever heard of Hillsong? And a lot of these people were young, and they said, oh yeah, Hillsong was everything. I loved going to it. You'd go to where it was located in New York, and there was just a line all the way around the block for people to come in, and and then they talk about like the celebrities, but we'll get to that. But you would go in and you always felt so welcomed. Like the people would just welcome you in, but you had to get there like 2 hours early because it was growing so hugely that it had a massive following.
Exactly. It reminded me of that SNL sketch where it's like New York's hottest club, Hillsong.
That's true.
It's like you're going into a rave, but instead it's just like all of these millennial preachers and celebrities. It's wild. Yeah.
It was at this point that, it may have been a premature question, but I think the question was never answered in all 4 parts of this series. Where did the leaders of Hillsong claim that this money was going? Because it isn't as though I ever heard them say, we've set up orphanages in this part of the world, or we have helped natural disasters. Help people recover from natural disasters in this part of the world. I never heard that. All I heard is how much money they were taking in, and that I just never knew, like they didn't even, it was as though they couldn't be bothered to give an excuse of where this money was going. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, they didn't go into that much. I just assumed that they were telling them, well, they're having to pay the rent in these fancy buildings all across the country. And so
Yeah.
it was probably just like upkeep and paying all of the staff, and then probably
Which they
something,
weren't doing, by the
right,
way.
volunteers. Yeah. And probably just something really vague like outreach or something. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, they didn't say.
Not once did anybody say. Um, then we get Mr. Lentz. Now, he had an interesting background. So he's American, from the South, and he trained at Hillsong College, which was in Australia. So Hillsong College was like this big place that everybody wanted to go. He was a really, really good basketball player. And he was doing that regular high school. We get some people that went to high school with him that talk about like what he was like. And he was a little bit of a player, which he totally admits when he's on stage. It's like, you know what? I was a player, but now I turned to Jesus and all this stuff. But he then went to Hillsong, and then they kind of, the leaders over there were thinking they spotted him and they must just have seen what he was. So he's obviously very charismatic. He's someone that can capture people, that can really just, if you've ever met these people that they make you feel like you're the only person in the room. And it really is, I think that's exactly who this guy is. I mean, we all think we watch documentaries like this, especially when we do cults, which we have done many a time. But you see these cult leaders and you go, what? Like no one would fall for that. Like that, 5'6" volleyball playing dude. Remember, he got all of those people.
Right.
Nexium, whatever it was. He got all those women, and you're like, this is ridiculous. No, I would never fall for that. But we don't understand the power of manipulation and charisma. And in his case, this guy's case, looks as well, and power. That's what it always is. Standing on a stage, thousands of people, telling, like just watching him and worshiping him. It's such a drug. It really is.
It is. He had all of that going on. And I think people maybe who haven't, performed like us stars
Right.
that we are.
Yeah.
People
Hollywood stars.
People underestimate how much of a skill it is to speak in front of that many people and keep them engaged the entire time. And not only engaged, but he practically had people mesmerized by his message and just his presence. People talked about him like he was so magical, and they loved him. People loved him.
That's a good point. It is such a skill to do that. I mean, for some of us, it comes naturally. I mean, 10, 100, 10,000, not a problem. But no, it is such a skill to do that. And he just looked like he did it with ease. He loved it. So then we start getting like more about how he was growing in New York. So every time he would come and be giving not a lecture, I guess a sermon, people would crowd in there. Then he starts these connections with these celebrities, which is cuckoo. So obviously they focus on Justin Bieber because he was the most notable one. There was a lot of big celebrities, but he really stuck around. Justin Bieber, what they discussed was going through his stage. Remember when he was like pissing in a bucket and got arrested, and he was just, he was a young kid and doing stupid stuff and getting terrible tattoos. And then I think he did a great PR move, which is true. He was like, no, I'm not going to end up in the gutter. I'm actually going to figure this out. And I know I'll turn to religion. I have no idea what this is, but I'll turn to this. And then this guy came along. Very interesting how he ever met him. I'd love to know the real story about that.
I mean, he must have just gone to a service thinking like, oh, the paparazzi will catch me going into this church. And then I think this was such a mutually beneficial relationship. And I'm guessing that Carl made a beeline to Bieber after he did his sermon. He was like, oh, Bieber's here. Let me
So
talk to
you
him.
think he just like ran, maybe like his agent was like, okay, we're cleaning up your image. You're popping off to this church is huge. Go to a sermon. Yeah.
This is the cool church. I mean, Kendall Jenner, Kanye, Selena, Bono, Lenny Kravitz, Kevin Durant, all these celebrities are going. So it's kind of like the place to go.
A complete segue. Have you seen Lenny Kravitz's new music video that he just released?
No, I didn't realize he was releasing music videos.
Yeah, he is. And I don't give a shit about the song. You need to go and see this video because it's one of the most sexual, amazing things I've ever seen in my entire life. Guys, if you haven't seen it, go and see Lenny, go to Lenny Kravitz's Instagram, go and see this new video. It's like, I mean, he is so hot, I can't even handle it. And then you go and see this video. He's like 54 and he's ripped. And he's like half naked in the entire video. One point, he's completely naked. Guys, you have to go and see that video. Anyway,
he would have been popular at Hillsong as a preacher.
He would have been great.
Or a pastor. Yeah.
So yeah, they get together and then we see this video, which I think was really unnerving. And I've never really followed Bieber. I don't really know a huge amount about him, but I remember that weird time. And you see this video of him, of course, is Carl Lentz, any camera, any bit of press he's on. He's an amazing agent for himself. He knows he's great interviewer, great interviewee, and he loves the publicity. So then he's like, the photos of him and Bieber like just hanging out after he'd been baptized in a bath by at some rapper's house. Then there was like the photo. I would highly recommend you go and see this. This is what Kate and I were referencing. With him and Bieber walking down the street, and Carl Lentz's shirt is off, and he works out a lot. And it's a really good photo.
Those shorts are centimeters away from exposing his junk.
It's great. There was a lot of deep V's. Carl Lentz loves his deep V's.
Yeah, and we didn't really describe his style and stuff. Like,
please.
Okay, so he seems fairly tall, right? He's maybe like 6'2" or something.
Yeah.
He's really, like we say, he's really fit, muscular, tan. He's got this stylish, sort of like shaved on the sides hairstyle and like hipster glasses, tons of tattoos.
Yeah.
He's wearing leather jackets and, pants slung down low. I mean, he's like a sex symbol. He's like a bad boy, this bad boy pastor. And he's hanging out with Bieber.
Then he's hanging out with Bieber. So there's this video of him and Bieber at I don't know where they were being interviewed. And I mean, I don't think it's I guess allegedly Justin Bieber was on a lot of drugs at this time, but he looks out of it. I mean, he looks like a cult member. Do you know what video I'm talking about? And he's leaning against Carl and he's like, I mean, I just want to be around him more and more. Who wouldn't want to be around Carl? I mean, it was so he was drunk or off his head. It was such a creepy video. It really did look like the stereotype of what you'd think a cult member to their leader was like. He's like, Carl. It was weird.
I know the exact video you're talking about. Yeah, they're like sitting on a couch. He's leaning his head on his shoulder and he's like, this is my man. This is my guy. It's like, what is happening?
Oh, God knows. And so he's on stage, Carl's on stage and he's he's preaching all of this. I was a bad boy. He loves doing that. I did stuff in my past, but now, he's married, we should say, with 3 children. And he has been married for like 18, 19 years to an Australian woman that he met at college. And, he is saying, you've really got to keep your purity. Date for 1 year, then you can kiss. Date for 1 year, and then you can kiss. So I'm not laughing if this is somebody's beliefs. I'm just quickly reflecting on my dating history. It's fine, but so date for 1 year and then kiss, and then you save yourself for marriage. So he's on stage just being like, this is what you do. This is what you do. And then we get interviews with a lot of people, Kate, that had been obviously at his services and had private meetings with him, with that girl that had had sex with her boyfriend.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So the thing that shocked me too about this part was finding out that he went to that college to become a pastor when he was 21.
I
So
know.
he's talking about, oh, my bad boy past. And I was like, what, when you're in high school? But we find out it's,
very current,
went on longer than that. But yeah, this couple that they worked in the church, can't remember in what regard. They like led Bible groups or something, or maybe with the music. They worked there and they were together. They confessed that they had sex. Was
yes,
it that?
She said, I had a boyfriend. We had sex once. That was it.
And so they confessed this to him, and they think he's just going to be like, oh, guys, you can't be doing that, whatever, slap on the wrist.
I know sex is cool, but
listen, sex is the tits. I know it. No,
Please grab another DV to change it to.
Yeah. Hold on, let me change my shirt really quick. Yeah. So he basically reprimands them really hard, and they don't get to be working at the church for 6 months or something.
He completely shames them. He completely shames them and tells them, it's sinful and they can't work there anymore. By the way, all of these people, we get into this in the other episodes, but all of these people are working there free. There was one guy that did lighting, and he was, he trained and was professional in lighting. These are big like stages, and he's lighting them, and he's saying, I was working 40 hours a week at this job and I wasn't getting paid. It was just so hard. There were people that were just cleaning the entire place all for free. It is disgusting.
Oh, the Louis Vuitton, he's wearing like Louis Vuitton Supreme sweatshirts. Yeah.
Very interesting angle, because we meet this guy called Ben, who started an Instagram account, an anonymous Instagram account, during the time that Carl was just huge. I don't even know what year this was. What is this, like 18?
Yeah, so this is probably a couple years before the pandemic. Yeah,
it was like 18, 19, I think he was really blowing up. So this guy called Ben starts this Instagram account, and it's called Preachers and Sneakers, and it's a brilliant idea. It's completely anonymous, and he went on and online and basically started posting photos of all these preachers and what they're wearing, and calling out like the price of them. So it'll be some guy from some mega church that's wearing $3,000 sneakers. Then there would be another one that has a Supreme like $10,000 hoodie on. Insanity. And of course, it blew up. It went from nothing, and he's completely anonymous, to like 100,000, 200,000 followers on Instagram. It was huge. Then he says, I started getting people contacting me, the media. He says, I turned down the New York Times. I turned down the Today Show. I turned down every publication you could think of, a media outlet, until I got a phone call, and I don't know how he even got his phone number. It's a complete mystery, but he got because this guy was anonymous on Instagram. Maybe DM'd him, I don't know, but he got in touch with them, Carl himself. And he said, he got on the phone to me and he says, can I talk to you? And he said, within like the first 15 seconds, he said, what's your name? And I immediately just said, Ben. He's like, I was like, I've hidden my identity for so long. And within 15 seconds, I felt comfortable with him. He was so cool to talk to. I just told him who I was. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. And then they were texting, and he's putting this pressure on him. He's manipulating him because he's treating him like a buddy and a friend, because he knew what Ben eventually tells us, that once it gets personal like that, it's going to be harder for Ben to post about him and call him out. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
That's what happened. It's an unfair spotlight to put on people. What?
I think that's how he must have been with all of his parishioners, that, they make you feel as though you're their buddy. Now, it's for another podcast, and I'm not going to go into it now, but I should actually probably do this as a special. I had some involvement with Scientology. Now, Scientology, I think all the secrets are out pretty much, with all the documentaries and Leah Remini and all these people leaving. Where is Shelley? But I filmed some stuff with Scientology. And I think we should do a special on this, Kate, because I have so much, and put it on our Patreon, because I have so much to tell about that experience. But I will tell you that when you walk in, you feel like you are the most important person in the world. They make you feel they're so friendly. They don't talk about the religion. It's just about, how are you? What are you up to? What are you? And I was watching this and going, I remember that happening. I was never a part of Scientology, but I was around them for a quite substantial amount of time. And I was like, yeah, I remember that. They come up and they're just your best friends. You're just your best friends. It's really unnerving.
Yeah, they want you to leave the Scientology Center, or like in this case, they want you to leave Hillsong thinking, these are my people. These are great people. I want to be around them. Not, hey, you should join our church because XYZ. It's just like they're selling themselves versus selling the religion.
They do it well. So episode 2 gets onto the affair. And I was surprised because I thought this whole documentary was all going to be about Carl Lentz.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just this episode we get into the affair. So it goes on to kind of talk about his background, his high school. He was this basketball star. He's, out there preaching celibacy. And we get an interview with this woman who, I didn't even write down her name. Was it Romin?
I unfortunately didn't either. I'm so sorry, everyone.
I know it was like Roman. It was something like that, Romin or something like that. Yeah. She came on to do her interview and she's kind of tatted up. She's originally, she's Palestinian, and she born and raised in, no, she came from Palestine, and it was raised in New York, and she identifies as an artist. I don't know kind of what visuals. Anyway, she tells her story about how she was the one that brought down Carl. She was in the park and she saw this guy kind of watching her. He was working out, of course. And she gets ready to go. This is what she says anyway. She gets ready to go and he comes up to her, starts chatting her up, stuff like that. And she thought, it was cute, whatever. So he goes, oh, let me get your number. So he gives his phone, but she says, I was suspicious because he asked me to put my number and info in his notes area, not in his phone. And I was like, okay. Then they start texting. She says they meet again at the park. She didn't go into that, but she did go into their third meeting at her apartment. Now, when she'd gone home that first night, she'd Googled him and she found out exactly who he was, that he was married. And it's, what he did in this church and everything and his connection with celebrities. And she said we started texting and calling. And then, he came over to I invited him over to my house on that third time. I mean, she really plays it up because I did a whole deep dive afterwards about her. So well, I'll tell you about it. But anyway, so he comes over and she said it was just so, it was just so passionate and so strong. And I felt like I'd never met anyone like him before. And so they start having this affair. And she said it was very turbulent. They would fight all the time. She said that he was my drug and I was his drug. And she was showing all these videos of that he'd sent her. I mean, she says he was not a good cheater because I think probably you're that arrogant at that point, with all this fame, and you just don't think you're going to get caught, which is so stupid. So he didn't really hide his tracks, but some of the stuff that he would say to her, she says, I know now it's all bullshit, but he would give the necklace and what else was he saying to her?
He was, I don't know if I remember the specifics of what he was saying to her. I just know, I think it was pretty typical, buttering her up, you're the most gorgeous woman, and all of the, what did he say?
All of the most beautiful women come from the Middle East. That's what he said.
Yeah. And just not very pastorly things that you would think someone would say.
There was also a manipulation. She said some things like I wish I'd written this down. It was like, it's not, it's look at, if you look at your circumstances and look at my circumstances, you would,
I remember. No, I remember. It was so bad. He was like, at least I'm going home to my family and you have no one and nothing. Yeah.
yeah,
That was it.
yeah.
Ugh.
So it ends up coming out because she said she got a call from him and he said, my wife knows, everyone knows, the church knows, there's paparazzi everywhere. He had uploaded everything to his cloud, and apparently his cloud, there were people that had access to his cloud on the computer in his office. I think you become so big and so arrogant, and there's so many people that work for you. You'd be giving out passwords, you'd be giving out all this shit, and he probably just was not good at hiding it. So it all came out. He then was let go of Hillsong. He put out a public statement, which was a photo of him, his wife, and his 3 kids, saying, I did cheat. It was all my fault. It was nobody else's fault. I take accountability. It was all me. That's it. And then he moved because he was based in New York, so he moved to Los Angeles, where he still is now. And let's bring him out. No, so he has, that was very Andy at reunions. So he's in Los Angeles now with his wife, still together. Hey, I cannot imagine that being his first affair.
No, not at all. I
mean,
so.
Come on. That could not have been his first affair. No. I'm just surprised nobody else came out. Like, there was nobody else, right?
I thought that there was all that stuff at his previous church that he worked at. And remember that woman who was talking about how he came up to her and was like, talking about, oh, you have a really pretty older sister, don't you?
Yeah.
And she's like, I mean, yeah, I have a pretty sister. And I think there was some talk about him being involved with people at that church when he was younger, for sure.
Yeah, I think, and in his high school as well. But it was like, I kind of felt that was like that woman came on and just said, she goes, and that just made me feel really weird. That's all he said. I mean, he didn't try to like molest you. He literally came and just said, you're the one with the hot sister. So okay, that's your big bombshell. Like, they did a lot of these bombshells, which were just nothing. But you're right. There was stuff about him. There was someone that came in and was kind of all covered up, and they were just like hiding their identity. And they said he tried to have sex with numerous people. I think everybody kind of knew that worked there, but he was in such a huge position of power that what are you going to do?
I know. It's like he didn't think he would get caught. And then I think he also thought that no one would dare call him out, like he was probably so shocked that she had the, in his eyes, audacity
or audacity
to be public about it and come forward. Yeah.
So after that episode, that was kind of it. And I thought about Carl Lentz, and I thought that Lentz went, why can I not remember his name? I've written it, Carl
Lentz.
I want to keep calling him Lentz. That was kind of it about him. And then Kate, this last 2 episodes, I did skip around on the 4th one, but that kind of revealed all of the sexual assault and a lot about this crazy college in Australia where they went.
Yeah, this was exposing the really seedy underbelly of the upper pastors and staff, and all of the toxic culture surrounding the people who volunteered and worked there. They were apparently having mental breakdowns, everyone who worked there, because it was such a manipulative, difficult environment. You were not even allowed to make eye contact with these pastors. You had to, like, what was it? They said like you basically had to become furniture around them. Like, you couldn't speak to them, you couldn't look at them. There was one of them, they made you like run your hands under cold water if you were going to be around him. I mean, it was wild how they were treated. And then of course, yeah, all the sexual assault
Mm.
stories. The staff was all partying, having these big debaucherous parties. Apparently, it was
Yeah.
just it's just all a sham. It's all they're just being
It was
fake.
all it was. And episode 3 kind of just went on about people that had been to the college and seen all of this. And then just terrible experiences. One woman was like, she's like, one of my roommates, their entire curriculum for the semester was just cleaning. So it was all free labor. They just cleaned the church. It was wild. So then it went off. Then it went into Frank Houston, who was the founder, and all of this sexual abuse that he had committed, the lawsuits, then investigating his son. Frank Houston, I just put bastard, died in 2004. And he'd paid off boys that he'd molested. Just sick, worst type of thing you can imagine. And then episode 4 was really about the downfall and how everything was like a frat party, and it was just a mess. And they said that it's kind of episode 4 was following up after this documentary was released. And it just went on to say that things really crumbled and everything fell apart. One of them, the son Brian, is still in a lawsuit, I believe. I didn't really Google if it had once again, really doing great journalistic work here. Didn't bother to Google what happened afterwards. I did Google Carl's Instagram though, and I was going through that heavily.
Okay. I just did some last minute research for the pod while we're recording.
Oh, genius.
And there's an article in The Sun
Woo!
From November 2020, and it's saying he's under fire once again as at least 3 more women have come forward with claims that they had an affair with him. And then there's a story here from April 27 of this year that him and his wife broke up. And the woman who came forward, it's Ranin. Renin.
Yeah, I went onto her Instagram, and
jewelry designer,
in her
right?
bio is featured on X on the Beach. She went and did all those reality shows.
Nice.
But hang on, I went onto his Instagram. So he's broken up with his wife. Really? I thought they were still together.
Wait a second. I guess I'll go ahead and open the article instead of just reading.
Fine. I'll read more than the headline and byline. Fine.
Fine.
I went onto his Instagram and his look has it changed. He's still got a banging body, but he's grown his hair out. So it looks very like Cody from Sister Wives. It's real curl. He's got curls down here. He has a good hairline though, not like Cody from Sister Wives. But he's got like long brown flowing locks now. It's not great. It's not great.
I'm seeing that now. Okay. Wow.
But
yeah, I liked the Bieber era hair better.
It's so cheesy, but definitely his hottest look. So I went to his wife's page as well, and she posted about him I don't know how long ago, and then she's doing some multi-level marketing stuff.
That tracks. Listen to this. Leona Kimes, co-pastor of Hillsong Boston with her husband Josh, announced in a bombshell Medium post in May 2021 that she had been subjected to manipulation, control, bullying, abuse of power, and sexual abuse by the Lentzes, plural, while working at their home as a nanny. They denied this. Wow, just when you think you read it all, there's so much more coming out here.
That was a lot. I mean, Kate, overall, what did you think of this docu-series?
I thought that it was interesting. I did find out about a lot of stuff about this whole church that I hadn't known. plenty of interviews, plenty of perspectives. As we said, there's a lot of people that they brought on. And I liked hearing the history of how, how did this even come to be? Because in my mind, it just came out of nowhere in like 2017.
Yeah.
Didn't even know it was Australian originally. So I thought it was pretty good. They did, the bombshell after bombshell. They did go over things quite a few times, which became repetitive, but I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was pretty good. It was okay.
Yeah. What would you give it on a scale of 0 to 600?
I'd give it like 4.25.
4.25. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
What about
agree.
you?
I think I thought it was all going to be about Carl, and it wasn't. So it was good to kind of get a more rounded view of it. There was just so many people interviewed. It was way too long. It should have been 2 parts. That's it. It shouldn't have been like 4 was too much. So I'm going to give it, I'll give it like 350.
Fair. Yeah. That sounds right.
All right. So guys, before we head over to our Wheel of Shame to get our episode for next week, just a little reminder of where you can find us on social media. So on Instagram, it's Tender Loving Care Podcast. To email us is tenderlovingcarepod@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. We always respond to DMs, emails. Go on there, check us out. If you want even more from Kate and I, what you can do is go into your feed right now where you listen to this podcast. You will see episodes that have a little lock by them. They are for subscribers only. To become a subscriber, it's only $5 a month. And with that, you get 2 extra episodes a month. And it's basically, we will break down documentary. Why it took me so long to say. Sorry. We will break down documentaries of the weird, wild, and wonderful. So it's nothing to do, we're very obviously TLC and Bravo heavy on our main shows, but this is something a little bit different. These are documentaries that Kate and I are really fascinated with. We take turns in picking ones. This month it's all been spooky stuff. We are doing ghosts, we are doing murders, we are doing UFOs, we are doing vampires, we are doing Anne Nicole Smith, we're doing the death of Brittany Murphy. We have so many that we've done and that we continue to do. We have some great things coming up. So that's what you need to do. Click on that link, put in your details, $5 a month, you support Kate and I, and you get some extra content.
Absolutely. And if you prefer to use Patreon, we're also on there. And it's the same thing, $5 for the back catalog, as well as 2 extra episodes a month.
Absolutely. All right. So let's, guys, it's this time of the week. Let's head on over to the Wheel of Shame. Guys, we're at the Wheel of Shame. The Wheel of Shame this week, I said we need to add to this because we have a lot of things on here that need to kind of be removed. I've done some of them, but it's dwindling. So I need to get back on. I know that TLC are adding shows by the minute as a Discovery ID. I think Kate and I had the discussion last week. A lot of them have been very, very dark. So we're trying to just lift it a little bit.
Yeah, we don't want it to be doom and gloom every week. And Pauline, you were saying they can DM us or email us. That would be a great thing to reach out and let us know, is if you see in our feed we haven't covered a show that we absolutely must, please tell us. Yeah, and we'll add it in.
That's a good point. We did actually get a message from one of our really, really great listeners the other week. I need to go back to our DMs because she had suggested one and I said I haven't seen it. I'm going to look at that. All right. So without further ado, let's spin our Wheel of Shame. 3, 2, 1, spin. All right. Give us a good one. 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 Woo! Ask and the Wheel of Shame delivers.
What is it?
Paranormal emergency.
It's spooky.
It's perfect for this month. It is one that I have looked at and really wanted, and it's not going to be doom and gloom. hopefully. But I am imagining when I've seen this before, I was totally hoping there's going to be a load of reenactments because Kate and I love a reenactment. So I'm hoping there's going to be very low budget reenactments. And I hope it's people that, you know, need to flee their house in the middle of the night. And then you have some Bobo ghost hunters that leave their job at 5 p.m. and then come to race to the scene. No harm to them, by the way. That's my dream job. But that's what I'm thinking it is. So I'm excited. Paranormal emergency.
Paranormal emergency. I need to.
There better be paranormal emergency. There better be a ton of episodes as well. Paranormal. I think it's obviously this is going to be okay. Looks like there's 2019 one season.
10 episodes. Oh my
Great.
gosh. Episode 8 looks terrifying.
Excellent.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Police officers, paramedics, and other first responders reveal their true life encounters with the paranormal while on duty.
Interesting.
That's not what I thought it was. That's even better.
Yeah, I thought it was just going to be people, like you said, just going to the ER because a ghost broke their arm or something.
Yeah. Or it was people that had to race over because their haunting was so bad they had to get someone immediately. Great. All right, guys. Well, that's our show for next week. We will put on our Instagram, Tender Loving Care Podcast. We'll put on there the episodes that we're going to be watching. Really excited for that. It's going to be a good one. As you know, this is coming out on a Wednesday. Yesterday, we released our 90 Day Fiance. It's a brand new season of 90 Day Fiance, and we have some real ding-dongs in the cast. So go and listen to that. On Friday, we are going to have our regular show, our Bravo show, plus something very special. Very, very special. Now, guys, we have a guest that we're just going to dedicate an entire episode to, who is not only a truly magical being, a witch, but she is also a dear friend of mine, and she's obsessed with sister wives. I mean, what more do you need? So we are going to be interviewing the absolutely amazing Renee Watt on Friday. It's going to be released, and we are going to be talking. Majority is going to be all things sister wives. I have a ton of questions. I even want to get into the horoscopes of these morons as well, and we're going to talk about that. Plus, of course, we're going to talk about some spooky things because we have Renee, which is a huge resource, and it's spooky season. So that is going to be an extra bonus episode available for everyone, and that's going to be coming out on Friday. If you want more sister wives stuff, we will be re-releasing an episode sometime this week of one of our biggest interviews with the host, the owner of the Instagram account Sister Wives Unraveling. She speaks about everything Sister Wives. It was a great interview, and we're going to re-release this week. Plus, we're going to have our Sister Wives interview with Renee. We got a ton this week, Kate. We got a ton.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and we appreciate you being here. And we'll see you very soon.
We will. Bye-bye.
Bye.